I want to start off by saying shalom to my brothers and sisters out there. I want to say shalom, mashpaka. I want to say peace and blessings to my family out there. I want to say I want to I hope and pray that you had a blessed Shabbat, right? Just wanted to talk to you for a little bit here, real quick, right? There's a lot of talk about what's transpired, what's taken place with the Ashkenazi Jews that we know, what's taking place on over there in Israel, how Netanyahu have presented a mandate, right, to the Africans, right, to the refugees there, how he's given a mandate for the Africans to leave within 90 days, right? Give them a package of $3,500, and if they don't, then they can be arrested, right? Should we be surprised by these actions? My Facebook account is blocked, all of them. I can't do no live streaming on there anymore. I posted what they're doing to my account. Literally, my account goes into a never ending loop whenever I try to do live presentations there. But if you guys go back and you review the videos that Pastor Carr and myself had done, you should not be surprised at what you're hearing. We've been talking about this for quite some time, and we've actually posted videos on this over a year ago exposing just how they treat Negroes and Kadar people in that territory. Should we be surprised at their actions? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. What we're seeing, what we're witnessing is the fulfillment of scripture. Sometimes, prophecy, we all get excited about prophecy. But the one thing that can be hard about prophecy is seeing the fulfillment of prophecy, right? See, in the church, right, they've really played with the term prophecy, right? It made people get so to a point where as though they began to what? Almost kind of get numb to what's happening all around us. The church has taught the people that, hey, everyone wants to get a word of prophecy, but not really fully understanding what prophecy is. All this thing about the misunderstanding about what when the Most High come back, the tribulations and all that we have to endure here before Christ come back. That's some of the things that the church has taught incorrectly. So people really don't understand what it means for us prophecy, even what it means to be a prophet. Why? Because when you are a prophet, you get to see what everything that the Most High God wants to do, and He's sharing it with you, right? And I'm gonna use this analogy, right? And I can relate to this. This is my own personal testimony, right? Because I am a pastor. I am a prophet, right? And one thing the Most High God has given me visions, and He's also given me a gift of being able to discern information, to go through and sift through information, right? So with that being said, right, you know, as a pastor, as a prophet, that the Most High God has given me the gift, discernment, right? It's kind of like that thing with a movie. I'm sure all you guys have seen movies before, right? Been to the movies. I'm sure you guys have watched a horror movie. And guess what? You see, and I'm just going to use Friday the 13th, for example. You see the big picture, right? You see these campers, right? You see the cabin out there, right? You see the cabin, right? And so you see the danger. You see the killer hiding in the woods, right? And you see him eavesdropping, he or she eavesdropping. Actually, the first one was what? Actually, the mother. So we'll say she. So she's lurking in the woods, right? And you can see her peeking through the leaves at the campers, right? But then as the campers get ready to leave the cabin, it's always that one. Always that one. Hey, I forgot something. I'll catch up with you guys. You know how the routine goes. Shalom, brother Dawid. Shalom to your ak. You guys know the routine. It's always that one that always had forgot something and gotta have to go back to the cabin. So, right, they go back to the cabin, right? And as they walking in the cabin, you're saying to yourself, you know what's happening, but that character does not see the dangers, right? So the character goes inside and you know, come on, y'all know how we do. We get animated when we see danger, right? And we can see it, but no one else can see it. So you're getting animated. Like, look, the killer is in what are you doing? Don't you go in that cabin. That killer is in the cabin. Get out of there. What happens? Walks into the cabin, right? So, you know, you hear the music and everything that is just setting everything up, you know, just to really, you know, get your blood flowing and everything, because you hear the music. Matter of fact, in Friday the 13th, it wasn't even no music. It was just that sound. You know what I mean? So it just was that sound. But you knew something was getting ready to happen, right? So what ended up happening, right, in that, you know, in that movie you guys can relate to, she gets ready to walk out, right? Your heart is bubbling and you think she's about to get killed, but guess what? She walks through the whole thing. She get what she need, you know. So she get ready to walk out the door. She thinking she's safe, and all of a sudden she hears a sound, you know. And then all of a sudden, what was that? So they start doing what? Trying to investigate the sound that you heard, and now you're looking at the screen saying, "Stop! Get out of there! What are you doing? What are you doing? You ready to throw stuff at the screen, trying to tell them that what? The killer, you're going to get killed." And what happens? They go back to investigate that sound. Make a long story short, what happened? Most cases, they end up what? Getting killed. But could you change the overall effect, the course of that movie? Not at all. No matter how much you yell, no matter how much you scream at that theater, guess what? The movie still have to play out. And only thing you can hope for is what? If that person, if that character encounters the killer, that they have enough, he or she has enough sense, enough strength, enough power to get away from the killer and know not to go back there again and put themselves in harm's way. Right? That's the same thing when it comes to prophecy, man. It can be a painful thing when you see somebody on a path of destruction, or they're caught up in all kinds of delusions like we see right now. A lot of our brothers and sisters that are in the church that are what? You know, caught up with the delusions, you know, putting up Santa Claus, you know, really embracing the doctrine of the Nicolaitans, right? Which means what? That name simply means destruction of people. So I encourage you guys, if you have an opportunity, go back over and watch the presentation I did with Christmas on Trial. It's not just about Christmas. I'm exposing systems. I'm exposing the destructive doctrine of the Nicolaitans, which is what? The Roman Catholic doctrine and Judaism, right? So should we be surprised at what we're hearing and seeing about these Ashkenazis? Not at all. We should not be surprised, especially you guys that are in this truth and understanding what's going on. See, what we're seeing is we're seeing the fulfillment of Ezekiel happening. We see the fulfillment of chapter 35, chapter 36, chapter 37, chapter 38, chapter 39. We see those, now we see prophecies fulfilling itself. See, one thing that I remember that my grandmother would share with me, she always said, guess what? And this is when when she was teaching me about women, relationships. She said, guess what? Whenever you meet a woman, don't get excited about when you meet her, right? She said, always wait for about 9 months, to see where she is, Then if she's still the same, if she's consistent in that 9 months, guess what? Then you got a winner. But she said, if you early on, what you may meet early on is what you're just being introduced to the person. So guess what? They may have a mask on and they're holding that mask up to their face. So guess what? In those early on, guess what? A person can hold the mask up and guess what? You don't really see who they are. You just still getting introduced to who they are. So guess what? My grandmother said if it takes 9 months for a baby to be born, then guess what? Take 9 months to really see who this person is. And after a while, no matter how the weight of that mask, after a while, that mask will get heavy and eventually you will see that person for who they are. Right? Now we're seeing the same thing with Netanyahu. We see the same thing, not just with him. We see the same exact thing for the entire what? That entire group of people. We know that what Hitler has said about this group of people. He called them a parasite. He said that they have a habit of what? Going to different territories and completely sucking them dry. We see what's going on with that. We see exactly what's going on with that. See, we already see it happening right before our eyes. The question is, what are we going to do? We should not be surprised. Shalom, saying shalom to my brother, Pastor Jerry Carr. That's literally my brother. We're family. Grew up together. And it's just I'm just really thankful for what the Most High God is doing for he and I. Having us in this place right now, taking on the mantle of our predecessors. So think about this, guys. Think about this. Why should we be surprised at what we see going on? Why should we be surprised? Remember in that video that we posted a year ago? When it starts off, you see in all the articles of them lying about the Holocaust. Look, you can research what's that now I can't think of the name of Osweg or whatever you call it. You can research it. Where they supposedly had done the with the incinerators, where they were supposed to have burnt up all these people. When it's proven that guess what, there was not a single body that was burnt there. It went from being Auschwitz, that's it. It went from being what? 6 million people. Then the numbers dwindled down from 6 million. You can look it up. You'll see 6 million. Now it's all the way down just what? Just over a little more than 1 million people, right? You can prove this through what even the almanac to prove that these are not the people. All what they were saying is what? All the things that they were saying about this Holocaust is lies. I'm telling you, if you guys go and watch that video, you will see the first 3 minutes. You'll see all the articles, all the media that they put out there trying to, already plant the seed in our mind by saying, hey, you know what? 6 million Jews, 6 million Jews, 6 million Jews. Now, guess what? They said 6 million Jews are in peril in Russia, 6 million Jews in peril in Ukraine, 6 million Jews in peril in Pakistan, 6 million everywhere, all these countries. The same theme, 6 million Jews. How is it that it's 6 million Jews, and that, especially at that time, the math does not add up. The math does not add up. See, when we start getting in tune with the Most High God, we start understanding the math is not adding up. See, our math is different from the Most High God's math. See, we've been pre-programmed, right? See, I did a lesson over the weekend at our Shabbat service, right? Titled, You've Been Hacked. You've been hacked and don't even realize we've been hacked. Right? What I mean by that is we've been so institutionalized to processing information a certain way that we cannot even do the math for ourselves. We're dependent on somebody else's interpretation of mathematics according to our Dabar HaQuadash. Now, guess what? We're so dependent on them doing the math for us instead of sitting down and writing it out for ourselves. We're so dependent on a calculator than sitting down with a pencil and a piece of paper and say, hey, let me make sure I understand this formula for myself so I can make sure that the math add up. See, according to the Most High God, right? And according to man, here's an example. 1 + 1, we're taught that it equals 2. And the problem is because we have this westernized mindset, this Eurocentric mindset, many of us, our DNA has been hacked. It's been hacked to now we process the word thinking that 1 + 1 equals 2. Nah, and the Most High God is totally different. 1 + 1 still equals what? 1. 1 + 1 still equals what? 1, no matter how much you try to change the math. Right? Now, another example. We're taught that any number divided by 1 is still going to be the same number, right? It's still going to be the same number. 1 divided by 1 equals what? 1. The math does not add up with the Most High God. 1 divided by 1 will never equal 1 in the kingdom according to our Dabar HaQuadash. Because now you have a division. Now you became at least what? Two, multiple. You see where I'm going at with this? Our math versus the Most High God's math is completely different. It's completely opposite. So when you start understanding, even when we're teaching about getting back to our ancient Hebrew language, guess what? You'll start understanding that everything that's the meanings of words that's in our ancient language, the Paleo language, when it's transliterated by these Ashkenazis, guess what? It is what? The opposite. Totally the opposite. Totally the opposite of what we see in the English language. Like, for example, shame or sham, shame or sham. In English, you know what it means? It means embarrassment, right? But when you read the Dabar HaQuadash, right? Sham, right? You know, in the modern, it's pronounced shame. But guess what? It means what? Sham. Hasham means what? Name, reputation. It means glory. It means report. That's what it means. But once it gets over to the language that we've been that they use to hack into us, to hack and alter, you know, when you start understanding the dynamics in that, and guess what, guys? You know, this week, me and Pastor Jerry Carr, we're gonna get together. We're gonna be doing some work down in Atlanta, Georgia. We're gonna put some videos together, some recordings together, so that way we'll have some recordings for you this upcoming week with us doing some collaborations on that. But think about this, guys. Should we be surprised at what we see happening? Should we be surprised? Should we be surprised? Should we be surprised at what these guys are doing? And they have a history of doing it. See, they keep regurgitating this thing. And guess what? They have the church, so to speak, the church, right? So to speak, they have the church fooled. They have the entire world fooled to embrace in their doctrine. They are the only group of people that can what? Time travel. Y'all ever seen that movie Back to the Future? That's what these group of people are, the only group of people that are able to do time travel. They're able to go back and to take ancient texts and rewrite it and put their own stamp on it. They're able to go back and deal with transliterations of all the Bibles and insert that word Jew that has no correlation to Yahweh, has no correlation. They're the only people that can take that word Jew and make it interchangeable with the word Hebrew, make it interchangeable with the word Israel or Yashara'ah. They're the only ones that can do that have been given what? The green light to do that. They're the only ones. Why is that? Why is it that we sit back and allow this to happen? You have so many educators, right? Or should I say people that are educated in these different theologies. But nevertheless, how come they're not able to see and address this craziness, this deception? Should we be surprised as what's happening? That's right, Dawad, you know, that's right, Arthur Kessler, they're Aaron Elhick, and we all know these things, and we've been teaching this for years, and guess what? People still don't want to hear. They still don't want to hear. That's how you know they've been hacked. Either they've been hacked or they're the hackers. Guess what? The Ashkenazis, guess what? They are the hackers. The Roman Catholicism, the Roman Catholics, they are the hackers. Guess what? The Reformers, the Reformation movement, when you start getting into the Calvinists, the Lutherans, those are the hackers. The people that have been hacked, guess what? Is our people, the true descendants of Israel. Because what happens is now what? Many of our ancestors or not just ancestors, but many of our people of today, our brothers and sisters, are embracing doctrines that's not even theirs. Can you imagine? You know, you see, a bishop being installed in what's supposed to be a non-denominational church, and they look just like the Pope, but they're supposed to be a non-denominational church, a non-denominational assembly. See, I don't like to use all this church stuff, these words, because I know that term church is a term to replace Israel. That's a replacement theology term. So I don't use the term church. I don't use the term Jew. I don't use the term saint, because saint is not interchangeable with Israel. whatsoever. Saint simply means what? When it all boils down, is what? A holy person that have what? Been assigned that title of sainthood based upon what? The Roman Catholic Church. I don't subscribe to that. Wherever you see saint in our Dabar HaQuadash, guess what? That's a hack. That's a hack. When you understand the programming language, one character, one letter, one jot can shift the whole narrative of the meaning of Scripture. I shared with you guys yesterday about the Jehovah's Witnesses. They made it a point to insert what is called indefinite articles. Just about everywhere where you see Christ, they put a God, a God, a God. Why? So that way they send that message saying that Christ, Yahweh Shai, is what? The lesser. He's the lesser. He's a lesser God. He's a lesser deity, so to speak. And when we understand our Dabar HaQuadash, guess what? When you start understanding Allah Hayam, then you get you fully understand it from what our ancestors wanted us to understand it from. So guess what? Should we be surprised at the nonsense that we're seeing about these guys? Pastor Jerry Carr and myself, man, we went all through there. We done gone through their Talmud. You could go through some of the videos that we have posted, and guess what? You will see we expose that Talmud. And what we're going to do over this weekend, we're going to expose it some more. We're going to really expose this Talmud. We're going to put it all out there. Should we be surprised at this? Should we be surprised at this? We should not be surprised at what we're seeing. That's right. Benjamin Friedman, Facts are Facts. He laid it all out with the what? The deception of the languages, the deception of what? That term Jew, their agendas and everything. He laid it all out, made it perfectly clear. So that's why I encourage you guys, we're going to do a recording later on this week. I did a little piece of it yesterday called The Deception of the English Language. And you're going to understand. And I'm going to show you that you can use languages, not just from what most of us gravitate to. We start looking at archaeology to try to, prove who we are. But guess what? There are 3 pillars that Genesis mentions. 3 pillars of what makes a nation a nation. Genesis chapter 10. It says of all of them, for all Noah's sons, all 3 sons, each one of them had land. So you can look up what? The land, the origins, the history of the land, the archaeology, and you can what? Find out what? Get the truth from there. Then you have what is called what? Families, mashpaka. Then you can start what? Doing some research and start doing some what? Getting an understanding of the migrations of what? The families of the tribes of the diaspora, and understanding that the diaspora started well before 70 AD. We started already migrating into Akibulan prior to 70 AD, but nevertheless, just giving you an understanding. So that's we identify what? Land. We identified family, which is mashpaka. We understand. We highlighted what? Land, arat. But guess what? We still haven't highlighted what? Language, which is what? La shawan. Now, when you understand language, that is another avenue that you can what? Actually get what? The entire what? Layout, the entire timestamps, when you can start understanding where all of this how all of these deceptions have been instituted. Language. And Pastor Jerry Carr and myself, we're going to call this out. We're going to put this presentation up in a week, and you're going to get a full layout of how, through the English language, how we can prove and we can put a timestamp on when these people began to even evolve. Right, and we can prove that these people do not go beyond the Middle Ages. They stop right at the Middle Ages. They do not go beyond. They're not a people of the antiquities. They stop right at what? The Middle Ages. Middle Ages. Now, guess what? Let me give you a glimpse of what's going on and what they have inside their Talmud. Can I expose them a little bit, guys? Let me give you a little tidbit. Well, let's expose these guys. Because one thing you have to understand. Pastor Jerry Carr and myself, we understand that, we've been raised that you have to go into the enemy's camp, literally. You know what I mean? You have to be willing to what? Go and meet them where they are and not let them bring the fight to you. Because oftentimes when you allow them to bring the fight to you, what's going to happen? You are going to be behind the curve. You're going to be behind the curve. All right. And matter of fact, I think I saw someone that posted about the Iranian. One of the things you'll find in most of the matter of fact, most of the Jewish formulas that they put together to try to justify who they are. Guess what group of people they're using? They're using what? The Iranians. Right? They use the Iranians' DNA to try to help, try to put a square inside a triangle. That's what they try to do. They take a square peg and put it inside a triangle. That's what they did by taking what the DNA, incorporating what the Iranians as part of what their DNA. That's a complete a farce right there. See, most people don't deal with those things. When you start understanding the Y chromosome, and for me, I'm astute with that. But Pastor Jerry Carr, I got to give him his props on that. My cousin, he's thorough when it comes to that. You know what I mean? But I know enough to be dangerous. Put it that way. So when we start understanding, right? When we start understanding the Iranians, right? When you start understanding even the tree, and I'm going to reveal that tree later on this week. Pastor Jerry Carr and I over the weekend. When you start understanding what is called the Proto-Indo-European, I'm going to say this, Proto-Indo-European. All that is what? A glorified term for saying what? The language of Japheth, Lashawan, Proto-Indo-European, right? Now, when you understand Proto-Indo-European, it breaks off into 4 branches. One of those branches are what? The Proto-Germanic, right? So guess what? And then when you start going up the chute, right, you start seeing what? The Indo-Germanic breaks off into 2. You have what? The Western, and you have what? I believe the Eastern. I'm going off the top of my head. I don't have my notes in front of me. But matter of fact, let me bring it up here just so that way I want to make sure that I'm presenting this information accurately to you, because I don't believe in just giving you poor information. But yeah, it breaks off into Western Germanic. All right. And then I believe Eastern Germanic or Northern Germanic. I believe it's Northern Germanic. But let me pull it up real quick so I can get the information for you. I'd rather have the information in front of me and give you accurate information than for me to just give you wrong information. I'm not about that. All right. Let me pull it up real quick so I can break down this tree real quick. And I'm going into a little bit of the presentation that we're going to, Pastor Jerry Carr and myself, going to present to you. Let me just pull it up real quick. All right. This is the part of the message that I started. I gave part 1 yesterday, but let me just highlight that tree real quick. Proto-Indo-European, right? Let's break that down real quick. Let me pull up that chart real quick. Let me pull up my notes here so I can give you accurate information on that, so you get a better understanding of where I'm going at with that. All right. So you get an understanding of what this tree is. All right. Let's see here. Let me pull it up right here. I got it right here. Here we go. All right. And I'm telling you, it's going to what? It's going to really, when we break it down real quick, you're going to get a better understanding of who's who. Guess what? In that Proto-Indo-European, guess what? You'll find out the people that are not descendants of Japheth just by what? Using that tree, in which many people don't really utilize. Let's highlight the tree real quick. I'm trying to bring it up here. All right. Let's highlight it real quick. All right. All right. I got it right here. All right. Let's deal with this tree real quick. All right. Let's deal with this tree. Proto-Indo-European language. Let's deal with it real quick. All right. Here we go. I'm just going to highlight it, right? Because I highlight, yes, I was right. It's West Germanic, and you have Western Germanic, and you have Northern Germanic, right? So guess what? You have like the Proto-Indo-European language, right? Then you have 4 pillars there. But the one pillar that you have there, the 4 big shoots that you have there, you have Anatolian, right? You have Celto, Italio, you get the gist of it. Then you also have Balto, Slavo, Germanic. And then you also have Ariano, Greco, Aramenic, all right? Aramenic, all right? Now, those are 4 branches there. Now, if we go up that chart of the Balto, Slavo, Germanic, right, it breaks off into 2. But if you stay on that Germanic one, now you get into what is called the Proto-Germanic branch. And then that branch breaks off into two: the Western Germanic, and then you also have the Northern Germanic, right? And then when you go further up, it breaks off into two more. You have as far as the Northern Germanic, it breaks off into Gothic, and then you have Scandinavia. And then Scandinavia breaks off into what? Four shoots, which is what? The Danish, the Swedish, the Norwegians, Icelandic, all right? So then when you stay to the Western Germanic, it breaks off into what? Five shoots, right? Flemish, right? You have Dutch, you have Low German, right? Then you have High German, you have Frisian, but here's the kicker: you have English. See, English is part of that branch. English is a Germanic language, period. No matter how you try to slice it. Many people try to say, well, hey, English is just a smorgasbord of all. No, it's a Germanic language, period, which comes from what? The Western Germanic language, which ultimately comes from the Proto-Germanic, all right, root that really ultimately comes from what? The Proto-Indo-European. Now, if we stay on that big shoot, right? The Ariano Greco-Aramaic branch. Then we see it breaks off into two. You see the Greek, right? Then also you see the Armeno-Aryan, all right? But then when you go up on that branch, it breaks off into two, right? You'll see the Aramean, right? Get it, right? Aramean. That's still what? Dealing with what? Japheth. Proto-Indo-European. But then if we go to Indo, right, the other branch is called what? Indo-Irani, right? Indo-Irani. So that tells you that the Iranians are descendants of who? Definitely not Shem or Sham. Definitely not of Ham. We see right here, Indo-Iranian, right? Then it breaks off into Old Iranian. And here's the kicker: Sanskrit. Who uses the language Sanskrit? Why is it that this particular group of people, right, that uses Sanskrit can put on their applications that they're Caucasians? Because when we understand history and anthropology, we'll understand that all came from what? Kadar people, the original descendants of Japheth. Japheth himself was a Kadar person. All the Noah's sons were Kadar people. Matter of fact, Noah, his wife, all of them were Kadar people. All of them. Period. It's proven. It's a fact. So I'm saying all of this to say, guys, this is why we had to really go further with our studies, not just with our studies, because all of us are learned. Even those that here, I'm seeing some of your posts, we all are learned people. But we have to start coming together like Nehemiah. Nehemiah understood that he had to get the people to come together. When you read Nehemiah, that is the key. That what we see there, all the things that he implemented right there, that is the key. The building a wall wasn't the primary thing. Building a wall was what? It was the foundation. But guess what? They had far more work to do after they built the wall. Building the wall, guess what? Once they got the wall done in a way, what did they have to do afterwards? What was their responsibilities from there? No, they didn't stop. They had more building to do. The wall was just to what? Keep the foreigners out. Keep those that was what? Bringing all the nonsense among the people. Now we had to learn how to live together. Then he had to iron out a lot of the things that many of our people began to practice and the things that they began to learn, even taking for granted their native tongue, their ancient, their paleo tongue. They took it for granted, and they began to marrying the daughters of the daughters that are descendants of Lot's daughters, the Ammonites and the Moabites, and before you know it, guess what? It says their children only knew how to speak half languages. So you see where I'm going at? See, when we start understanding the importance of our language, then we can really get a proper understanding and really start mapping out this delusion. Do you know that Ashkenazis understand the importance of our language? Do you know the Roman Catholic Church understands the importance of our language? That's why they're trying to get us to learn all this other stuff. That's why the Roman Catholic Church push Latin, right? But the Yiddish guys, right? The Ashkenazis, they pushing what? Yiddish. All they did was got rid of the term Yiddish and put modern Hebrew on it. It put modern Hebrew on it. Nah, it doesn't work like that. Because modern Hebrew is a smorgasbord as well of all this stuff pulled together. To form that language. When our ancestors, is documented proof that our ancestors came over here speaking and writing in a language back that dates back to what? When Christ walked on this earth. They're writing in a dialogue. Hebrew that to this day that still cannot be what translated. Why? Because guess what? They spoke real Hebrew. They spoke the truth about and they wrote it in the cursive Hebrew that guess what? They brought all kinds of scholars and they still wasn't able to what translate it. All right. So guess what? Our ancestors, I'm referring to African Baptist Church that's down in Savannah, Georgia. Our uncle, and when I say our uncle, Pastor Jerry Carr and myself, our uncle pastored that church back in the 1906 or whatever. And guess what? Pastor Jerry Carr, his father, Pastor Jerry Carr Jr., he's been teaching this stuff. He's been telling, man, he had a Negro Christ mural on his church back in the 60s. He's been dealing with this back in the 60s, the 70s. But guess what? He's been what? Suppressed, like many of those that want to go against the system, the one that's bold to go against the system. But now we're in a place right now that you cannot what? You cannot put the toothpaste back inside the tube. Now that this truth is getting out, now what we're seeing is a reflection of what? They're getting desperate now. Now we see that Ashkenazis are what? Now they're allowing what? Kind of like their slip to show, so to speak. So let me give you a little highlight, right? Just how bad these guys are, right? Just how, we give them too much of a free pass. These guys should not get a free pass whatsoever. See, in the church, part of that programming, that hacking into our DNA is what, hey, the Jewish community, they believe what we believe, but they just don't believe in Christ. When did that get accepted in our households growing up? See, in our household, you couldn't say that you didn't believe in Christ. You couldn't say that. If you said you didn't believe in Christ, you know what, man, in my household, we grew up, we got family beatings. You know what I mean? Before my grandmother got to us, my uncle got to us, cousins got to us, and aunts got to us before my grandmother even got to us. You say you don't believe in Christ? So how did they get a free pass of saying they believe what we believe, but they just don't? In our scriptures, guess what? The scripture tells us, guess what? If you don't believe in Christ, you don't believe in the Most High God. Christ said, you see me. Yahweh Shai said, you see me. You see who? Yahweh. So if you don't believe in Yahweh Shai, how can you say that you see the Mashiach? All right. So let me highlight something real quick from their literature. Let's deal with the Talmud just real quick. I'm gonna just give you one little piece right there. And I want to, completely let all the cat out the bag before this weekend, because I'm telling you, we're going to really hammer out this Talmud. We got you guys. I encourage you guys, go back over and watch the videos that we posted. I'm telling you, it's a lot of information that people are now just getting on top of. You're hearing the video that we have in there where you got the Ashkenazis calling a Kadar person Kushi. And even another one said that they should shove a stick up his, you see it all on it. You see that a woman saying to another so-called Jewish woman, because, Jewish, when you say Jew and Judah, that's not us. Anybody could be a Jew, but not everybody could be Jewed up. All right. But nevertheless, the woman saying that she hoped that this woman that was with this Kadar person, saying that she gets raped and all kinds of stuff. Man, it's a lot of ugliness going on over there. Guess what? Look it up. People don't even realize, you got Kadar people over there getting what? Lynched. Look it up. Lynched. Was a soldier over there, a soldier serving in their military, got lynched, got hung. Show me what group of people is going through that. Only our people, right? Talmud, Mas Sanhedrin, 64a. This is what it says. The Mishnah, right? Understand the Talmud, what? Its foundation is what? The Mishnah, right? And the Zohar, and also the Sefer Yetzirah. All of these things come together to what? To make up this Talmud, which they call their so-called new law, so to speak, that Netanyahu is trying to push to make this become what? The law, the official law of the land of Israel. So guess what? This is not the only thing that you see. See that the things that's happening with the refugees, that's just a piece of the problem. But guess what? The underlying thing, just like what the Republican Party, not just the Republican Party, the politicians learned how to do, while you focusing on what? This controversy, they're pushing something else over here that's controversial, right? You're focusing on what they want you to focus on, but the underlying thing, guess what? They're actually trying to push a greater delusion, right? So while we're focusing on what's happening with these refugees, guess what? He's going to try to push what? The Talmud to becoming what? The new oral law. The new law, not oral law, but the law of the land. Now, this is what the Mishnah say. Not the Mishnah, but the Talmud, and it's in the Mishnah as well. But this is what it says. He who gives his seed to Moloch incurs no punishment unless he delivers it to Molech and causes it to pass through the fire. If he gave it to Moloch, right, and it goes on to say this, but did not cause it to pass through the fire, or the reverse, he incurs no penalty unless he does both. You see what's happening here? They're saying that it's okay to worship Moloch, or if you go into the Paleo, it's actually Malak. And many really don't understand that when you say Malak in our ancient language, guess what? Malak means what? King, right? It's also used for queen as well. Malak. So that's why you see Melchizedek, his actual name is Malak Sadak, all right? Malak Sadak, right? But guess what? When we understand here in the Phoenicians, right, Molech or Malak was a pagan deity that they worshiped. So you have to understand, when you start dealing with languages, there's what is called loaned words. That guess what? That these languages would use what? Common words that one language would use, another language would use. But they'll put their own definition on it. Perfect example, when Moses got his name. Masha is actually what? The name of Moses, or Amasha, right? The first, right? Who is what? Who basically spearheaded what? The 18th dynasty, right? So when you understand that, right? Moses or Masha was not something that was what? That was strictly with what? Our ancestors, our ancient, our Hebraic ancestors. No, that was not an Israelite term. That term was what? The Pharaoh's house. So Pharaoh's daughter, what she did, it says that she gave Moses that name, Masha, that name, and then she divined it. She put a different meaning behind it. In other words, taken from the water. He was taken from the water. That's what Masha in our language means, what? Taken out of the water, right? So guess what? You see, she took that word. She took that word that was what? In her father's house, his name, and then she applied it what? To Moses, but she redefined it for him. That is what you get into what? Loaned words, all right? But getting back to here, all right? So we see they're giving the okay for the worship of Malak. It goes on to say this. The Mishnah teaches idolatry and giving to Molech. All right. It goes on to say, Rabbi Aben said, our Mishnah is in accordance with the view that Molech worship is not idolatry. For it has been taught, and it goes into it, all right? He's giving the okay here. It says, for it has been taught, if one causes his seed to pass through the fire, whether to Molech or to any other idol, he is liable to death. But then it says Rabbi Eliezer, son of Rabbi Simeon, said if to Molech he is liable, if to another idol he is not. So either way, they're still saying that you can worship idols, you can worship Malak or Molech. They said you can pass your child through the fire. You see what's happening here? They say that you can do these things, right? And so when you understand the Talmud, then you start really seeing a lot of this is coming out of what? The Kabbalah, the Zohar, right? Guess what? That's one of the major books, right? The major foundational books in the Kabbalah. That is what? Nothing more than what? Jewish mysticism. And we will see, and if you watch those videos, you'll see the influence of this Jewish mysticism, on the entire world. We got bombshells that we haven't even dropped yet about the deception of these people, this group of people. And we're going to drop these bombshells this week about this deception here. So I just wanted to take a little time out to talk to you guys for a little bit, just to highlight, just expose these guys just a little bit, just to give you an understanding that, man, these guys, guess what? They're not playing. Let's be real. They're not playing. Hasatan is not playing. And yeah, I just want to highlight one more thing, right? One more thing, because it really bothers me, right? They have done a crafty thing that they took our identity, changed it, customized it for themselves, and they made it clear that they don't want to deal with the true paleo. They feminized a lot of the major words. They even changed the names so that way it could better suit what they were already practicing before they came into our heritage, right? But nevertheless, they have done a trick on our people. See, I get upset when I'm reading articles like this one. I'm going to pull up real quick where it says from the Israel Times, right? It's titled Messianic Jews to Nigerians, right? Messianic Jews said to Nigerians, you're not real Jews. Messianic Jews, right? Saying to, right, the people in Akibulan, and I'll read a quick bullet here. It says, in a move that has garnered condemnation and anger from Nigerian Jews and international scholars, Jewish Voice Ministries, a Messianic group from Arizona, a Messianic group from Arizona, announced this week, right? And the date of this article is dating August 19, 2017. This is when I added this to my presentation here. But it says that, here, a group out of Messianic Jews in Arizona announced this week that the Igbo people, right, the Igbos, right, are not genetically Jewish based on what? Their private DNA testing. Shalom, Brother Kevin. Shalom, Mark. They said that based off of their own private DNA testing, y'all can look it up, the Israel of Times rather, and the article is Messianic Jews to Nigerians. You're not the real Jews. You're not real Jews. But guess what? That's a delusion. They're right. Why is it that our ancestors that know that they're the real people of the book, sitting up here trying to prove that your DNA matches a people that their DNA don't even match what the barometers that they're trying to put out there? Why is that? None of us are Jews, right? We scattered. We're from the nation of what? Yahweh. That's who we are. We're not Jews. That's a made up word. That word has been in evolution, right, according to the English language. I just dropped a little nugget right there. That word is not it's a made-up word. That word does not go back into the antiquities. So why are we sitting up here getting bent out of shape? It burns me up when I see that, guess what? You see the limbo people, they're trying to say, they come from us. No, no. I could break down all these DNA formulas to prove to you that what? These guys, their whole testing is flawed. How can, right, 12 sons that has the same father, 12 sons, and we're dealing with Jacob, right? How can you take 12 sons, all of them have the same DNA, that Y chromosome from their father? How can you tell me that you can determine that right now you have a formula, right? It's called the chi, right? The chi, CHI, right? This chi formula, which is flawed. I could break that thing down. This is the formula that they use to justify that they done found The Levitical priesthood. This is what they did. They included the Iranians in it. They included what? The Italians in it. They included what? The Germans in it. They included who? The Swedes in it. They include all of these people in it. But who? The Negroes, right? And that's where you see the major flaws. There's a reason why they're not including us in those testings, why they're focusing on the Iranians. There's a reason for that. But nevertheless, how can 12 sons from the same father, and one of them has a separate DNA? They had two Y chromosomes, mutations. It's medically impossible. All of them had the same mutation that Jacob had. And that's how you can completely knock down this nonsense. What they did was, among their group, because that whole Jew, that term Jew, right? Because anybody could be a Jew. Remember, you practice Judaism, you're a Jew. This is why they could look like the people that they weren't the people in that particular territory, right? In other words, an Ethiopian Jew is going to look like an Ethiopian. A Jew in Japan, a Japanese Jew is going to look what? Japanese. A Jew in Germany going to look what? German, right? But wait a minute. How is it that we were able to maintain? I did my DNA testing, right? And they say on the average, right? For us, the Negroes, the average for us, the percentage of being Akibulan is what? 73%. How is it that mine is 94.6%? That's basically 95%. How is it that I'm 95% from Akibulan, 49% of Ghana is in my... I could break it down, but how is it that we've been raped by the entire Confederate, the Jewish community, the Roman Catholics, the Indians? We could go all the countries around this world have raped our people, but yet no matter where we are scattered to, we still were able to maintain our what? Our appearance. The Most High did not allow us to what? Lose our appearance. We come in all different shapes, but how are we able to, no matter where we at? You go to Brazil. In Brazil, by the way, it's the largest territory or where Negroes live at. But you go to Brazil, you go everywhere we got scattered to, right? We still maintain our appearance, but yet we got raped by the entire world. But yet you have this group of people that every place that they migrated to, they look like the people where they are. Why? Because they're converts. The only way you can have two Y chromosomes, mutations, out of the same bloodline, from the same brothers, right? Among the same brothers, is if what? One is adopted. That's not a blood descendant. You can shut that down with that right there. That's how they came up with the Kohen nonsense, by saying that, hey, we got all these group of people, and we're going to look for what? Something that's odd, that's different from the rest of them. And we're going to say that that's the Levitical priesthood. That's all they did. That's all they did. All 12 had the same father, so guess what? They're all going to have the same mutation, period. All of us got the same Y chromosome mutation, right? All of us. You're a descendant of Israel. You're a descendant of Jacob. Guess what? You're a descendant of Abraham. Guess what? Abraham. Guess what? We all have the same Y chromosome what? Mutation. So why should we be surprised? When you understand the history, go and watch the videos that we posted, guys. We exposed a lot. The bloodletting, the burning of the Talmud, all these different things. Why should we be surprised? I'm not surprised. How did they end up from the Iberian Peninsula to Barbados? How? And just so happened, right? Just so happened that was a major port for our ancestors, where we got processed. Our ancestors got processed and their names were changed. What a coincidence, right? How come we keep letting these guys get off the hook? And then we start bickering with each other. I had somebody do this on Facebook, right? I post some stuff to proving it's shutting down this Kemet nonsense, but yet we have what? Our own brothers and sisters. Somebody had the nerve to come on my post, and a few of them try to tell me that, hey, Christ was a mystical person. We don't need a Messiah. That's the Bible. Well, wait a minute. Do you know that the whole Dabar HaKwadash is what? Is what? Is what for those that are what it's telling us what for hope it was put in place what so we could what understand the hope, the restoration of what our heritage, to understand the salvation, the plan of salvation was put in place. It's a book that's what, if you want to use the modern term, messianic. You cannot take that away. So I told the person, explain to me the book of Hosea, break it down for me. If you believe that we don't need a Messiah and this never was prophesied to them, explain to me the book of Hosea. Crickets from there. So guys, like my cousin Pastor Jerry Carr say, and I love the term now, these are rebels. We have a lot of rebels among us. And we're going to start addressing these things. But nevertheless, the bigger rebel that we have to really deal with is two. The Ashkenazis, the Roman Catholicism, and we got brothers and sisters that's among us that are what pushing their doctrine. They're bashing people that are in the church, but yet they're embracing this doctrine. They're bashing the people in the church, but they got on their Magan Dawad. That's not biblical. They bashing the church, but they're still embracing Judaism. They're embracing all these talking points. So I'll say this again. As I get ready to wrap it up, be careful when you start learning this modern Hebrew, because I've said it and I warned a number of people to be careful. What's going to end up happening if you're not careful and you're not using it to get to the paleo, and you get so dependent on it, eventually it's going to erode away at your belief in the Mashiach, right? It's going to take you away from that. It's going to what? Erode away in your belief in our Messiah, Yahweh Shai. And before you know it, you start regurgitating talking points coming straight out of their so-called other rabbinical literature. But nevertheless, again, don't be surprised, guys. Don't be discouraged. Don't be surprised at what you see. It's going to get worse. But what it's doing is setting the stage for that battle that's going to go on. That's going to go on. That's going to go on. That's going to happen. That's going to open up the doors to us. See, by that's happening, guess what? With the refugees, now guess what's going to happen? Now you're going to start seeing a lot of what we've been talking about start coming to the forefront. Now people will start asking like, hey, who are these people? Let's start looking at the history of these people. They're saying that they're supposed to be the people of the book, but now, wait a minute, these are the people of the book, but look how they treating strangers. Right? The scripture tells us not to do what? Vex a stranger. Didn't it say that? But they're doing it. See, it's going to start having the world start opening up their eyes to saying that these people are not real. Man, the stage is being set, guys. Only thing I can say is what? For you to be ready. We're ready, but you have to be ready. That's why it says a remnant. Nehemiah gives what? It gives the full understanding. It gives us the full visual of exactly of things to come and how the Most High God is going to restore his people. Because what's going to happen? All that stuff that they built up in Israel, guess what? It's going to be in rubbles. It's going to be torn out again. It's going to be in rubbles. So the remnant the Most High God is going to use to restore our heritage, land, family, and our language. All right? Land, family, and our language. It's not a made-up language that he's going to restore. It's taking us back to what? Our original language. All right? But nevertheless, guys, I got to get ready to go. But really appreciate you guys for, just joining me on at this time here for this moment, this little block of time right here. Really appreciate your comments. And guess what? If you have any questions, if you have some stuff that you want to have a discussion about, let us know. Post it right up on here. And that's right. Kevin, look forward to seeing you in Atlanta. We'll be down there this Friday. I'm driving down there. I'll be hitting the road Thursday night, so I'm going to be there early. So guys, let's come together, man. Let's have this discussion. And guess what? We'll put an exact time, and Pastor Jerry Carr and myself, we're going to go live while we're down in Atlanta during the conference. And if you're down in that area, come on out there. We had our James 1-on-1 conference that was in October up in Richmond. Now we're having the Nehemiah conference. Nehemiah, build, balance, all right? The James 1-on-1, scattered, come together. Nehemiah, build, right? You get the gist of it, of the different scriptures that we're using and the purpose of coming together. So if you're going to be down there, come on down there. And if you didn't plan on doing anything, plan on coming down there. If you in that area, even if you're a 2-hour, 3-hour away, press out there. When we had our James 1-on-1 guys, we had people driving from 14, 15 hours away from Texas to Richmond to be here, and they had a great time. So nevertheless, let's come together. Let's build. We're gonna Pastor Jerry and Carr and myself. He's gonna fly in on Friday, so we're gonna get together. So we are going to have a live presentation, but you'll see us doing this together. You'll see us having dialogue together. But nevertheless, I want to say shalom to you guys again, and have a blessed night. And like I always say, make it a point to be a blessing to someone. Lift someone up in prayer. Lift someone. Somebody needs prayer right now. Somebody needs someone to intercede for them. Make it a point to be a blessing to someone. If you want change to happen, guess what? You have to start off by what? Participating in the change. So guess what? Start praying for your brothers and sisters. Pray for them. Pray for them. With that being said, shalom.